In the heart of the ancient Igbo land, nestled between the lush, green hills and the thick, mysterious forest, lay the village of Yumuk. Yumuk was blessed with fertile land, abundant wildlife, and a river that snaked through the village like a silver ribbon. This river, the River Yugo, was not just a source of water, it was the lifeblood of the village. The villagers revered the river, for it was believed to be the dwelling place of Yugo, the benevolent goddess of the river. Yugo was known for her beauty and her power. Her presence was felt in the gentle currents of the river, the fish that swam in its depths, and the fertile fields nourished by its waters. The villagers often spoke of Yugo's long, flowing hair that shimmered like the river at dawn, and her eyes, which sparkled like the stars reflected in the water at night. She was said to be as merciful as she was powerful, granting bountiful harvests and abundant fish to those who honored her. However, Yugo was not a goddess to be taken lightly. She demanded respect and offerings, and those who disrespected her or her river would face her wrath. The stories of Yugo's anger were passed down through generations, serving as a reminder to treat the river with reverence. Every year, during the festival of Yugo, the villagers would gather by the riverbank to offer their thanks to the goddess. The festival was a time of celebration, with music, dance, and the offering of the first fruits of the harvest. The villagers would adorn themselves with beads and paint their faces with the sacred symbols of Yugo. The women of the village, who are believed to have a special connection with the goddess, would lead the procession to the river, singing songs of praise. At the height of the festival, the village priest, Enzokoye, would offer a goat and pour palm wine into the river as a sign of the village's devotion. The waters of the river would shimmer and dance as if Yugo herself was accepting the offering. It was a sacred moment, one that reaffirmed the bond between the villagers and their goddess. But one year, something changed. The river began to dry up, and the fish became scarce. The crops, once abundant, withered in the fields. The villagers were gripped with fear and uncertainty. They had always honored Yugo, so why was she now turning her back on them? Whispers spread through the village, and the elders convened to seek answers. The journey to the sacred grove was not for the faint of heart. The forest was dense, and the path was fraught with dangers, wild animals, treacherous terrain, and the spirits that dwelled in the shadows. But Enzokoye was determined. With his staff in hand and his heart filled with prayers, he set out at dawn, leaving behind the worried faces of the villagers. The forest was eerily silent as Enzokoye made his way deeper into its heart. The trees towered above him, their branches entwined like the fingers of ancient gods. He could feel the weight of the forest spirits watching him, but he pressed on, guided by an inner voice that urged him forward. After what felt like days, Enzokoye reached the sacred grove. The grove was a place of otherworldly beauty, with flowers that glowed in the dim light and a small, crystal-clear pool at its center. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the ground was soft underfoot, as if the earth itself was breathing. Enzokoye knelt by the pool and began to pray. He prayed for forgiveness if the village had unknowingly offended Yugo, and he prayed for guidance on how to make amends. As he prayed, the surface of the pool began to ripple, and a soft light emerged from its depths. From the light, Yugo appeared. She was more beautiful than any of the stories had described, with her hair flowing like liquid silver and her eyes glowing with an ethereal light. Enzokoye was awestruck and could barely find his voice, but he managed to ask, "Great Yugo, why have you turned your back on our village? What have we done to displease you?" The river. With that, Yugo faded into the light, and the grove returned to its tranquil state. Enzokoye knew what he had to do. He returned to the village and gathered the people, telling them of his encounter with Yugo and the task that lay before them. The villagers, though fearful, trusted Enzokoye and the goddess. They worked together to cleanse the river, pulling out the roots of the evil that had taken hold. They offered sacrifices and prayed with renewed fervor, their hearts united in a common purpose. Slowly, the river began to flow again, its waters clear and pure. The fish returned, and the crops began to grow once more. The village was saved, and the bond between Yumyuk and the river Yugo was stronger than ever.